Flipping through. The Origin of the Heap. Air Fighters Comics number 3, 1942. It is World War I. Baron Emmelman, one of von Richthofen's own aces, fights an Allied aviator over a barren Polish swamp. The German plane is hit and plunges downward. Emmelman insists he must not die. His aircraft crashes in the lonely swamp. He is thrown clear of the wreckage and lies silently in the slime, merging with the surrounding vegetation. Time passes. Emmelman's will to live endures, and an unearthly transformation begins. The strange form now moves, needing oxygen drawn from vegetation, animals, or man. An unsuspecting sheep approaches the mound, and in a sudden, violent motion, the animal is crushed. Silence follows. With its strange hunger satisfied, the heap now moves through the swamp. As time passes, other animals seem to sense the same fate. It seems indeed that such a creature cannot be of this world. The heap is supreme master of its primeval domain. But the world beyond the swamp has changed. It is now 1942. World War has spread brutality and fear across Europe. In the Polish town of Rhodes, Nazi forces tighten their grip. Civilians are driven into the public square at gunpoint. The occupation shows no mercy. Colonel von Tundra, Skywolf's mortal enemy, commands the Gestapo forces. The town is to be punished for the death of a Gestapo agent. Yet hope remains. If Skywolf has received the message, there may still be time. The strange form now moves, needing oxygen drawn from vegetation, animals, or man. An unsuspecting sheep approaches the mound, and in a sudden, violent motion, the animal is crushed. Silence follows. Skywolf and his allies race toward the town of Rhodes, their aircraft cutting low through the sky as the clock runs out. Below them, the situation is already turning grim. In the village square, the executions are moments away from beginning. Prisoners are forced forward at gunpoint as soldiers prepare to carry out their orders. Word reaches Colonel von Tundra that Skywolf's planes have been spotted. The response is immediate. He barks commands, determined that this time there will be no escape, no interruption. At the head of a Luftwaffe squadron, von Tundra scrambles his fighters and takes to the air himself, intent on stopping Skywolf once and for all. The rescue is in motion, but so is the pursuit. High above the great swamp, von Tundra's fighters finally intercept Skywolf's aircraft. The sky erupts into motion as planes streak past one another in tight formation. Then, without warning, Skywolf's craft splits apart in midair. The maneuver is sudden and precise, two semi-planes peeling away as one, allowing Skywolf to slip directly into the enemy formation. The move throws von Tundra off balance. He fires again and again, but the shots go wide. Skywolf is no longer where he appears to be. Below them, the chase continues across the swamp as Cocky, the turtle, and the judge race onward, pushing hard while the aerial battle rages overhead. Von Tundra climbs for altitude, desperate to regain control. He dives straight for Skywolf, determined to end the fight, but manages only to clip a wing. The damage is real, but Skywolf is still flying. Lost in the fog of the swamp, the heap stirs uneasily. The roar of engines and the crack of gunfire echo above, pulling the creature from its restless slumber. Rising slowly from the muck, the heap turns toward the sound. Even Skywolf, circling overhead, is stunned by the sight of the massive, shambling figure emerging below. Von Tundra sees it too. His damaged plane skims low over the swamp, drawing dangerously close to the creature. For the first time, fear cuts through his rage. This is something he does not understand. Gunfire erupts. Von Tundra fires wildly, but the bullets have little effect. The heap barely reacts, its attention fixed on the struggling half-man before it. Dragged closer, the captive pleads for mercy. The words strike something deep within the creature's fading consciousness, an echo of a life long past. The heap pauses. For a moment, it remembers. Meanwhile, far below the battle in the skies, events on the ground grow darker by the minute. In the swamp, the Heap moves steadily forward, carrying Colonel von Tundra with an eerie, almost deliberate calm. The German officer's confidence begins to crack. His fury turns inward as he realizes he may have traded one battlefield for something far worse. The Heap, strangely attentive, seems to respond to the sound of the man's voice, a language it once knew, stirring fragments of a buried past. Elsewhere, Skywolf's comrades, Cocky the Turtle and the Judge, are forced down into a forest clearing, surrounded by enemy troops. Outnumbered and cut off, escape looks impossible. The soldiers are marched at gunpoint, jeered and threatened, their fate seemingly sealed. Von Tundra arrives soon after, savoring the moment. Certain of victory, he orders the prisoners held fast, convinced that nothing can interfere now. But the swamp has not finished with him yet. Then, at the outskirts of the town of Roods, panic spreads. A lone soldier stumbles back in terror, barely able to process what he's seeing. The Heap emerges from the distance, carrying Colonel von Tundra as if he weighs nothing at all. The officer's authority dissolves into disbelief and fear. Civilians gather at doors and windows, staring in shock. Whatever this creature is, it does not belong to any army, and that frightens them more than uniforms ever could. Orders are shouted. Rifles are raised. Soldiers try to form a line, desperately attempting to reassert control through force. But the crowd surges. Confusion erupts. Suddenly, a pig breaks free and rushes toward the commotion, squealing through the chaos. A small, absurd detail in a moment spiraling out of control. The Heap reacts instantly. It lunges forward, seizing the animal with brutal speed, not in cruelty, but in instinct. The creature feeds, driven by a hunger older than the war itself. And for the first time, the soldiers understand. This is not a weapon. This is not a symbol. This is something unleashed. Terrible moments follow. The crowd watches in horror as the still form collapses to the ground. Whatever order existed moments ago is gone, replaced by fear, confusion, and shock. An officer studies the scene with cold calculation. To him, the Heap is no longer a mystery. It is an opportunity, something to be exploited, controlled, turned into a weapon. Orders are given. Chains are dragged forward, heavy and cruel. Soldiers rush in, forcing the creature down through sheer numbers and steel. The Heap struggles, but the weight of the chains finally binds it. The officers congratulate themselves. They believe they have succeeded. Colonel von Tundra is untied, shaken but alive. He boasts, convinced the danger has passed, convinced that brute force has once again restored control. Elsewhere, officers gather and drink, celebrating what they believe is a victory. They speak of prisoners, of torture, of methods, their cruelty casual, routine, unquestioned. They laugh. They believe the Skywolf is dead. They believe the Heap is broken. They are wrong. Some distance behind, unseen in the darkness, Skywolf follows the Heap's trail toward the town of Rods. Night has fallen. The road ahead glows faintly with firelight and activity. Inside the town, officers boast openly. They speak with confidence, convinced their enemies are finished. Plans are made, cruel plans, not just to kill, but to humiliate, to break, to display power. Nearby, prisoners are marched away under guard. Behind closed doors, whispers pass between captives. They recognize each other. Allies, thought lost, still alive. Outside, the officers return to their celebration, laughing, certain the Skywolf will soon hang, certain no one can stop what is coming. They toast to victory. They do not see what moves through the darkness beyond the lights of Rods. They do not realize that the Heap still listens, and they do not know that Skywolf is closer than they think. Just as the four flyers prepare to slip away, orders ring out. A command is barked to bring coffins forward, tools of execution meant to carry bodies away once the killing is done. The prisoners exchange quick looks. an idea forms. They move fast, climbing into the coffins as guards struggle to lift them. The weight is wrong, far heavier than it should be. The officers mock the soldiers, accusing them of weakness, of growing soft away from combat. But doubt creeps in. Something is wrong. Then, the coffin lid shifts. A scream cuts through the night. The trap is sprung. The prisoners burst free, fists flying. Chaos erupts as guards are knocked aside, weapons scatter, and orders dissolve into panic. Gunfire cracks in the distance. The execution has become a fight, and the night in Rhodes is no longer under their control. They do not realize that the Heap still listens, and they do not know that Skywolf is closer than they think. Luck holds, at least for the moment. The enemy failed to locate Skywolf's planes when they seized the prisoners. Hope remains that the aircraft can still be found in the swamp. A little while later, the engines roar back to life. Skywolf is airborne again. The semi-planes rise with startling speed, lifting almost straight up before reforming in the air. There's no hesitation now. This must be stopped. As dawn breaks over the village of Rhodes, the prisoners are once more driven into the public square. Threats are shouted, weapons raised. But the Heap answers first. With titanic strength, the creature tears free of its chains. Suddenly, chaos erupts. A plane dives low over the rooftops. A familiar voice cries out, "Skywolf has returned." Panic spreads through the square as the Heap moves again, no longer bound, no longer still. For the prisoners, hope has arrived from the sky and from the swamp. The chaos turns desperate. Men scatter as the Heap barrels forward, unstoppable now, its massive form sending soldiers sprawling. Cries of panic fill the air. Skywolf pulls away from his partner plane. A bomb drops, screaming down through the smoke. The explosion rocks the ground. For a brief moment, the Heap is lost in fire and debris. The question hangs in the air. Has the monster finally been destroyed? But attention snaps back to the fleeing officers. One rages, shaking his fists skyward, vowing revenge, his hatred burning hotter than the flames behind him. Overhead, the semi-planes rejoin formation and wheel away from the village. Skywolf's voice cuts through the smoke. There's no time to linger. More trouble is already brewing elsewhere. The danger here is ended, for now. But the war continues. And somewhere in the ruins, the fate of the Heap remains uncertain. And that's where this chapter closes. What began as a World War I tragedy, a man lost to the mud and forgotten by history, becomes something far stranger and far more haunting. The Heap wasn't a hero, and it wasn't truly a villain either. It was a relic of war itself, shaped by violence, time, and the land that swallowed him whole. This story, first published in 1942, would quietly make comic history. The Heap became the first true muck-monster, paving the way for characters like Swamp Thing and Man-Thing decades later. A forgotten origin, a buried legend, and one of the most influential monsters Golden Age comics ever produced. If you'd like to see more from Air Fighters Comics, or explore where the Heap's story goes next, let me know. And as always, thanks for flipping through history with Victory Age Comics.